Hey ho, dear ones. I am so excited to be sharing this episode with you where I sat down with Anna Tsui to talk about how 2026 is the year of the fire horse. That comes from Chinese astrology. And Anna herself has already blown up this year aligned to this really powerful energy. She gained over 130,000 followers on Instagram in 2 weeks from a post that went viral because she really tapped into this potent, fiery, galloping energy of the fire horse. We had an absolutely brilliant conversation unpacking this. Anna Sui is an international serial entrepreneur, best-selling author, and spiritual catalyst. Her mission is to help heart-centered business owners be fearless leaders in the new era. Anna is a brilliant teacher, brilliant coach. She's one of my best friends. I feel so grateful to have her in my life, and may you receive as much wisdom from her today as I did.
Every place we go, it becomes part of us in some way. So, like, sometimes I find that it gets triggered with, like, certain weather or certain foods or certain memories, it's really interesting.
So I used to work, as you know, in international response, humanitarian response, and I spent a year in Kabul, Afghanistan. And I have so many memories from that time. It was such an intense year. It was a great year, a difficult year, all the things. And sometimes the weather, it just hits in a certain way. The sun and Kabul's in a valley, and there's mountains all around. And it's actually really not architecturally pretty, but very the nature is very beautiful and very mysterious, and you really feel like you're, you know, somewhere in the oh, how do you describe it? Like this very this vast wilderness where I'm not explaining myself very well, but
I know what you mean, those big open plains, like,
yes.
it's something that opens your heart. There's something very mystical about it.
Thank you. Mystical is the word I was looking for. And some days, just any day, it can be anywhere, in the Netherlands where I live or anywhere in the world actually, and the day will just hit a certain way in the sun, and it's kind of cool, kind of crisp, and I'll just think Kabul. And I don't know, it's almost like a magical experience. It's hard for me to articulate. It must have some sort of spiritual significance.
Yeah, and I think that's why I feel this within me, and sometimes when we talk, like, I feel it opening up in people, like, we just carry these pockets of this, like, energetic formula memory, right? And it's like sometimes it just kind of, like, explodes and we kind of get into the being of it, and that's why I think it's worth it to travel, to read, to expand your mind because we're building those, like, energetic libraries almost within us, and, like, what a beautiful experience. Thank you for sharing that with us. I can feel it.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome. So that's a good segue into what we're talking about today. And we are going into the year of fire in Chinese astrology. And
Yes.
this podcast episode is going to be released on February 17th. The Chinese, it's the Chinese New Year, right? It's the 17th. I know.
Yes.
Yes, that's the year we begin the fire horse era.
Yes, yes, based on the lunar calendar. Oh, I wish I had my horse things. I should have brought it. But yeah, there's like all these like Chinese Lunar New Year horse red envelopes and all of this stuff to really celebrate because this is a really big and very unique energy because the Chinese zodiac has the 12 animals, but also has the five elements. And this happens to be the year of the horse and the year of the fire horse, which is insane.
And so the last time we experienced the year of the fire horse, share with us some things that were happening on planet.
Yeah. So last time was 1966, and we had a bunch of stuff happen in the US. It was like the second wave of feminism. There was just more intensity in terms of civil rights movements. And I think there was like something going on in terms of war. I'm not exactly sure, but the big thing that I think we can all kind of pinpoint to is it was the start of the Cultural Revolution in China, which I am very familiar with because my parents were basically caught up in it as very, very young teenagers, like, 12, 13 years old. And that was basically when um, students and young people were radicalized by communist propaganda to turn on the structure, the intellectuals, right? So in terms of like schools, you saw this in every single school and university. Science teachers, teaching classical music. If you were someone who was well read or spoke a different language, you were targeted, and it was not good. You were basically either you had to renounce everything and say, Mao is your leader and communism is the way, or you were stoned to death in front of your family, in front of the school, in front of your neighbors. And it became this kind of mass hysteria where uh, people were telling on their family members, telling on their neighbors that, this person was a capitalist. And I'm saying this not to like scare people, but I'm saying this to say that whatever is happening that has been seeded, whatever that is going to spark revolution, it will happen. And so we see this now in Minnesota. We see this in other cities where there's solidarity, right? Where people are marching and protesting ICE. They're marching and protesting against tyranny and, being murdered on the street and stuff like that. And so, like, the year of the fire horse, it's just going to exacerbate whatever has been simmering under the surface. And I think there's a really interesting connection also with Neptune moving into Aries for the first time in a long time. And I think that's going to be there for the next 14 or 15 years or so. Like there's an interesting correlation, but it's not all bad, right? But this is kind of the energy where it's like fire is it's fast, it's almost like illogical, it's just like pure, and the same with the horse, it's just pure intuition and speed. It's not necessarily triangulating information and thinking what's logical. It's just like the heat of the moment times 1,000.
So fascinating.
Yeah.
So a couple days ago from the recording of this, we just had our Human Design New Year.
Yes.
And
Happy Human Design New Year.
Happy Human Design New Year. And so for the past 400 years in human design, we've been in incarnation cross around planning. And what that cross really was about relying on institutions, relying on like schools, governments, hospitals to care for us, to educate us, give us health, give us guidance on nutrition, so we were in this sort of tribal existence, right? Well, now, next year, and with these two cycles, they don't like sort of change overnight. It's a slow kind of evolution and transition from one to the other, but we're going to see it really exacerbated in 26 and 27 because in 27 we go into the incarnation cross of the rising phoenix, which is all about individual sovereignty and no longer being able to rely on institutions, watching some of the old institutions that were broken and not working crumble, which we're already also seeing, so that we can go into the empowered individual sovereignty. So I find this really interesting that all these different things kind of layer on each other to tell the same story. And so in terms of the fire horse, I would love to know like what are some of the characteristics of this? Maybe let's starting on the individual level. Like what can we expect how this might unfold in our life and our business?
Yes. A really great way to do some self-exploration is actually plug into AI, specifically DeepSeek. And I got this from my friend Jennifer Vesta, who is an astrologer, and she says for some reason DeepSeek is it's like ChatGPT, but it's with Chinese AI technology, and it's just good for astrology. So go to DeepSeek, it's free, and then plug in your birth information to find out what your Chinese zodiac sign is and what your element is. and how it interacts with the year of the fire horse, because for every different animal there's a different interaction. And it's really interesting because like if you know your animal, it's actually like in real life, how would a horse interact with a tiger, and what are the simpatico characteristics, and where do they kind of butt heads. And so there are certain animals that do better in the year of the horse. And I'm actually on the other side. I am a wood ox. I am literally probably the worst poised in terms of an ox is steady and methodical and just kind of like, and wood is like extra earth energy. It's more kind of like logical and build something. Horse is my little sister, which is so funny because we're always butting heads. Horse is like, see you later. And I don't appreciate that you're so slow. Keep up, right? And fire burns wood. So for people who just feel more earth in their sign, I'm a Virgo. So if you have more earth in your sign, this is a year where you could literally get consumed by the fire if you don't have self care. So it's really important for everybody to have self care. But if you're someone who also tends to move a little slower, uh, you're going to have to move a little faster. Like it's just, I don't like saying that. You're going to have to find a way to utilize the speed of this year, because the speed is insane, because a horse is already fast and it's not a tamed horse, right? It's a wild stallion. They just move, they just go, they just run for the heck of it, right? They're untamed. It's just pure brilliance, right? It's just pure go energy. And then you add fire on top of that, which has to do with the heart. It has to do with passion. It has to do with visibility. So I think it's really good that I can speak to it from like the other end, because I need to like kind of forge myself into utilizing this energy, which I've been able to do, and I haven't burned out. I think I haven't burned out, and I've been able to carve time and all that stuff. And what I've done is, first of all, do your shadow work, because fire basically eats away anything that's false, and it reveals what's true underneath. And sometimes that truth is really ugly. You got to look at it, right? We have to look at what's not functioning in our lives and adjust that, because fire will exacerbate it so that we can heal it. But if you don't have a lot of junk there, then you don't need to be like, on fire. which is And then that fire can be channeled to your business. It can be channeled to your goals, right? So fire is, think of the element of fire, and how it interacts with you. If it makes you kind of nervous, then it's really important to get really good self-care. If it gets you super excited, guess what? You're going to need grounding, and you're going to need self-care too, because you're probably going to burn out. Because it's like when you meet fire with fire, like all the fire signs and these like fast moving signs and fast moving animals too, like it's a level of intensity that could consume you. So end of the day, everyone needs to ground themselves, because then you're able to actually like fuel the fire, and you're able to feed it and be able to like think strategically, oh, how I'm getting this fire in a certain aspect of my business, right? So for me, my social media like blew up insanely. And I was like, oh, wait, I've actually spent the last 3 years cultivating all of these things that no one paid attention to until now. So now let me just like more strategically and carefully feed this fire. And for people who can maintain their wits and stay grounded, this could be your best year yet. Like really powerful energy this year.
Hmm. Interesting. So, I would love to share that I believe, from my own perspective, this is going to be a major push pull energy year for me, because I am a Taurus and that element is earth. And my conscious sun is the gate 24, which is the silent mystic. It's all about slow,
Yes.
integrating over time. I'm a six line. I don't rise into my leadership until the age of 50, which I turn this year. And
Wow.
however, yes, and my Chinese zodiac, I'm a fire dragon. So
Whoa.
yes. So there's also this piece of me that loves the fire. I love to
Yes.
go fast. I'm a quick start. I'm kind of a ready, fire, aim person. So I can already feel this amazing push, pull in my energy. Like, I want to be slow. I want to be fast. I want to be slow. I want to be fast. And what I say from a human design perspective is, when we find from a human design, it's called the built in conundrums of your chart, where two things about you are both true, but they contradict each other, or they push against each other, and creates that push pull energy.
Mhm.
What I've always said, when you can identify that and lean into it, it's
Yeah.
often where your greatest superpowers are there, even though it can feel very discombobulating. So I
Yeah.
can already feel, we're recording this on January 29th. I can already feel the discombobulation for myself, both from a
Yes.
super high vibe, exhilarating way, and also from kind of an unsettling, like, whoa, this feels very wobbly. I do feel a little
Yes.
not burnt out, but I feel really tired. I have all these ideas, exciting ideas. I have the energy, to do it all. And AI is the blessing and the curse. You can get more done, so then you do more. So, so
Yes.
let's break this down a little bit. Maybe let's put people in three nice little categories here. Let's talk to people if they have a lot of fire and they're feeling like fire, fire, fighter, fire. This is like, I'm so excited. Talk, and then we'll talk through like the no, 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 I'm the strong, steady wood, earth, and then we'll talk through the push-pull conundrum. And let's try to give each category person, and you can kind of decide, maybe you fall in all three. There are times when you feel like
Yeah.
fire, you feel like wood, and you feel like push-pull. But maybe if we talk through all three of these kind of categories and give people some tips and tricks to sort of
Yes.
find their footing. And again, as you said, there's so much like I feel it in my bones. And you had a social media post like blow up, and it has like millions of views now, and it just like went crazy. I haven't had that experience, but I feel like I have
Yes.
inside. It's
Yes.
been like an
Yes.
inner explosion. So I
Yes.
think that people are going to blow up in all sorts of different ways, either with like
Yes.
physical numbers, inner numbers, whatever. But let's start to peel this onion back a little bit. So let's say you're a person who is fire and wants fire. What are some of the things to look out for, and what are some of the things to leverage?
It's a very impulsive year for you, and you're gonna have like a million ideas. And if you don't come into your grounding, so Taurus, right? Taurus is a cow, an ox, right?
It's a bull.
A bull, yeah. Same as, Year of the Ox, right?
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
it's yeah.
yeah.
And so I think everyone has those elements. And this is where a great time to get a professional reading is to look at like where in your chart do you have fire and more, I'm an Aries rising randomly for some reason. And I think everyone has that in their chart. But if your personality tends to be very fiery and you need to make sure that you're not acting impulsively, and you need to get like good people around you who are more grounded to kind of slow you down, because this is not a year to impulsively get into partnerships, sign contracts, and whatever. It's just a really important time to first reflect, maybe give it, look in your human design, right? And look at how you make decisions, because you're really going to need to lean into that, right? Because fire exacerbates everything. If you have more earth element, you're going to need to kind of, like I'm an ox, you just kind of like, just do it, just go for it. And if you're kind of in that push or pull, there's like this element of finding your intuitive place, finding your happy place. And then checking if the I need to do this is from an ego perspective versus like, like this is something that I feel like I really should do, or it's something that I've actually been doing and working on for the past X amount of years. Maybe it's time to put it out there in the world. And I'm going to add you a bonus on this wonderful question, Allison, which is for everybody. And your people are these wonderful soul guided entrepreneurs. This year, and not just this year, it's actually the next 19 or so years, is the fire element. So this time, specifically fire horse, it really is. And also Neptune and Aries, which is all about Neptune was coming from Pisces, which is all about, like kind of spirituality and all of that stuff. And now Aries is like, take action. Fire horses, take action. It's also visibility. So for everyone, this is your year to be visible in a bold way. Do not apologize for it. It will freak you out. Do your nervous system work, do your inner child work, because if you don't take advantage of this year of basically like electrifying visibility, you're going to find yourself kind of regretting it, right? I'm not saying like, if you listen to this, 2 years down the road, it's still the fire era. So visibility is a huge element of fire because it's very, it catches your eye. But take this time to start preparing yourself to be more visible. I know a lot of people are still hiding in social media, and unless you're doing, live events, going into the world where you're visible, you really kind of don't stand a chance anymore because there's just going to be more and more noise. But if you take this time to cultivate your unique human voice and perspective in a bold and courageous way, like you will absolutely be leaning into fire energy and it will just catch. And I totally understand what you say. Like you feel like you're on fire. You feel like your content is on fire, and it is. And there's a point when it will just catch because that's how fire works. It's like, ooh, here. Psh, right? So, like, whatever you feel inside, keep pushing yourself to be more courageous in your visibility and self expression. That's what I can say for everybody. Make sure it feels safe in here. Otherwise, like, it won't feel good and you'll end up hiding for the rest of the year, right? Or just hiding and come back, and that's fine. But we're all doing this inner work of building the grounding, building the earth so that the fire can, it can be controlled in a way, it can be harnessed.
Beautiful answer. I feel like there's something exciting for folks and, we all have all parts of our charts. So all of us have aspects of us that are fiery and aspects of us that are very grounded and solid. And I really feel like those who have cultivated their grounded and solid aspects and have done the work through these years, through these sort of lean years for spiritual folks. Let's be honest, it's been a tough market for people who are in the coaching healing sector. But those of us who've showed up, like Anna and I, and we've slogged through and we haven't given up, I feel like this is a year where things can start turning around for us from a visibility perspective. And when we're visible, people can find us. And when they find us and connect to us, they want to hire us, they want to buy our stuff. What's your response to that?
Oh, we're moving into spirituality in action, right? So it was almost like, spirituality, people were just kind of like talking about spiritual concepts and everybody was talking about manifesting and all that stuff. But now it's really going to favor people who take action and people who embody it. I really feel this year and like beyond, so the next few years, fire is going to burn away all the fake spiritual people, all the false disembodied spiritual people, and the people who are just kind of like putting stuff out there that can be pretty harmful, actually. And fire is a purification, right? So if you have a lot of water in your chart, fire like kind of makes you bubble, it transforms you. So like fire is transforming everyone, but it's really melting down pure essence and pure truth. So for people who've really been doing the work, right? So really doing the shadow work, looking at their ego, looking at like what's true for them, avoiding things that maybe could make them fast money but wasn't in alignment. This is our time. I mean, this is really the time to collect. This is the time to collect the visibility, the views, the aligned clients, because fire loves alignment. And again, the fire element in Chinese astrology and Chinese culture, it has to do with the heart. Even in traditional Chinese medicine, it has to do with the heart because it has to do with the blood, and it has to do with the eyes, which is also visibility. So heart is about heart alignment. It's about passion. So for those of us who are connected to fire in this positive way, which is alignment, and we're doing our heart's work and we're speaking our truth in a bold way, and you're not afraid to be visible. Those are the two things I think for spiritual people. It's kind of like, bold, unapologetic, speaking from your heart. Nothing will stop you this year. This is really, I see the time for us to finally, and for a projector, oh my gosh, I've never felt more seen than now, but it's because I haven't been holding myself back. Obviously, I've been refining, my writing and my content and not just spewing stuff, but like I find myself really leaning into things. And here's how you know. Here's how you know if you're leveraging the fire element, especially when it comes to growing your business. You are saying and you are posting things that when you hit post or send or whatever, you're like, should I delete that? Should I actually go back and delete that? And then you don't. You don't. And you got to keep on doing that. That is basically you just going over the threshold of comfort into boldness. And in the beginning, it's going to feel a little awkward. But because I've been just pushing myself to do that, because in some way I kind of see myself as an artist, right? Like as a writer or as someone who's expressing herself. So it's beyond my business. It's beyond just creating content that's good for SEO. So I push myself just for my own self growth. And that's why randomly, but not randomly, one post that I just took in my car somehow got me 140,000 new followers on Instagram within 2 weeks, which is insane. That is fire energy. And I'm not saying for everybody you need to have all these new followers, but you will get new eyes. You will get new opportunities. You will be able to stream and download different levels of content that are bolder and more truthful than people who are just kind of on the surface, like talking about the same thing. So I see this as a really positive year for your listeners and for people who are actively doing the work. But you have to get into that place where you're being courageous, because Aries and fire, it's all about action, and it's all about like kind of almost like being on the front lines. It's someone said it's pioneer energy. Aries is pioneer energy. So you have to begin pushing yourself to be that kind of innovative voice, saying something that maybe other people aren't saying, but you'll be rewarded for that definitely in this year and beyond.
Mm. So I would love to share how it showed up in my life differently. And I love the story of your reel going viral and just it really did feel like fire. And you're like on, your Instagram explosive growth. It really did feel like somebody lit the match and it went on the like from a cartoon, and it went on the little wick and it finally, blew up when it got to the TNT. Um, and so that is a way it can look. And I love that. And another way it can look is I feel like this was fire energy. Now, you, Anna, tell me if you agree and tell me, push back if you don't agree. So I have been helping, and you're part of this story, so this is perfect. So I've been helping crossover souls transition for like, I don't know. Well, I had a near death experience in 2009. So let's say this, crossover soul started coming to me after that, maybe.
Can I just say that this is like unpaid work that spiritual people do? It's like,
Right?
oh, my spare time, I help these souls cross over.
I know. And like I cleared when I moved to my neighborhood, there was so much trauma from World War II and this because like where I live now, they were all like Nazi high political ranking officers they were occupying this very house I live in. And the biggest Nazi rally in the Hague in World War II was held at the track where my daughter goes to track, just like a couple hundred meters from here. Like this was and like there there's bunkers on the beach, like this was like a really high trauma area that was never cleared ever energetically. So when I moved in here, for weeks and weeks because I'm like, "I can't breathe in this house." Like, I'm
Yeah.
so energy sensitive. I'm like, "I can't." And it took me probably 6 months to clear the energy of this neighborhood, and then I finally did, and I walked out into my front yard, I looked around and I said, "You're welcome," because it's like, no one's gonna know that I did
Yeah.
this,
But they
but
all feel better.
they're gonna feel it and not realize it, and that's okay. So you're 100% correct. Anyway, back to this. I started helping crossed over souls, people I knew, people I didn't know, friends of friends, loved ones of clients. And, over the last, let's say, 16 years, I've helped, I want to say, definitely into the thousands of crossed over souls transition.
Wow.
So I've built up and I myself have crossed over and came back. So you can imagine I've built a body of work on that, right? After a
Yeah, a level
thousand
of
times.
mastery and expertise
Yeah.
and
Well,
glowing
listen.
testimonials.
So I was on a flight back. I was in the States for Christmas. I was on a flight back and I started to watch this movie, this older movie from like 2016, I think, about two young teenagers with terminal cancer who fell in love. So it wasn't, I was like, I shouldn't be watching a happy comedy, but I stumbled upon this movie. I'm watching it. And we expect that the girl's going to pass away first, but the very kind of upbeat, peppy, happy, you can do this boy passes away first. Very suddenly. They didn't expect him. They thought he would have a longer life. Very, very, very sad. You get the person, it's a very, I'm crying, thinking about my own kids. I almost lost my oldest daughter. So I'm like, sitting there sobbing. And, this love story, right? But then it just like hit me, Anna, so hard. I'm like, the love story isn't over.
Yeah.
The love story is not over. On a soul level, the love story is just beginning.
Yeah.
And this is a celebration. He's returning to source.
Yes.
Sad for the parents, sad for the humans. We all need to mourn. So not to take away from any of the human sadness of mourning. But on a soul level, it's celebration and the story just begins. And
Yes.
it's one of love that never dies.
Yes. Yes.
And that just like, boom, it was like my fire match lit.
Yes.
And then I said, I just had to, I'm like, this is a podcast episode.
Yes.
So I filed it away. And then a couple weeks later, I'm like, oh, my episodes are due to Tony. I better sit down. And so I decided to just speak this episode about how, yes, how we fear death, but it's actually on a soul level, it's a celebration,
Yes. Yes. It's a homecoming.
a homecoming. Yes.
Yeah.
And I just poured out of me 15 years and over 1,000 soul transitions and all that I've learned. And then I cross-checked it with my AI bot, Roger. And I was like, hey, Roger, search the interwebs for the best content you can find on what happens to us after we die and summarize it for me. And it was literally exactly what he said was basically exactly what I had just summarized from my own experience. So that was a validating thing. So I did the episode. It'll air here it will air by the time this episode airs, I think. You'll find it in the show notes. And when I was getting towards the end of it, I just started to cry. And I started to cry because I thought, why am I just talking about this now?
I was gonna say this sounds like a trilogy. Like this sounds like a book and then a follow-up and then, like a community discourse. Like, I mean, this I think you're right. Like this the fire energy is this like when all the things kind of connect, you know, and it comes visible because all of the whatever has burnt away, all of the, I don't have time or it's not, whatever it is, right? And you like get this like, I mean, it's really raw brilliance that you brought up. It's just raw knowing. I mean, it's amazing.
Well, and I was sad that I hadn't spoken about it before. Like, why am I just doing this episode now in 2026? But it also felt super aligned. I was solid, grounded. I've been doing this work. So it felt solid, grounded. It was easeful to do because I had so much original content behind it, like original experience, which as a six line, I'm here to do.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be, I share from my own lived experience, right? And it just flowed out of me. So I was sad, but I was also very aligned. I
Oh,
kind of really
absolutely.
felt like it was meant to, like, I feel like, tell me if you agree with this, like this is fire energy. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't ready to talk about it a year ago or 2 years ago, or maybe I would have, and it just wouldn't have landed as fiery or as powerful. The spark wouldn't have been as explosive. But now it just like it just I feel like the light, the match lit, and it just boom, it just went.
Absolutely. And what I see on the other side is your audience is ready. And people now, and this is speaking about here and beyond, like meaning like next year, the year after that, people are going to experience such seismic cosmic shifts that spirituality is going to be like the only, like more and more people are going to see life beyond the 3D. And so your audience, and of course, like they follow you, so they're more kind of advanced in their consciousness and people are catching up, but the people who are already there, like like your gifts are opening, your ability to hold information like this is like you're hungry for it, right? And so I think fire energy is the you coming to all of those data points and they all connecting and it's like that spark of like but I think really the fire energy is you did it. You did it. Right? Because so many of us are like not it's like, I'm not ready. Are people ready for it? People are ready. People are ready. And so this unique, like what Allison gave is such a gift. It's like the most niche, it's the most niche kind of experience. And I think a lot of us work offline and do spiritual things. Like for me, a big thing is like protecting children and like bringing justice. So like we all do these kind of prayers or some people do spells or whatever and you help souls cross over. You help heal entire cities and neighborhoods and blocks and That's very niche. There's a word for it. It's really specialized, it's masterful, and this is the stuff that you should be talking about, your listeners should be talking about, because people are not just ready for this, they're, like, hungry for it, right? So it's like the visibility part is fire, the you sharing part is fire, and then people see it and they're like, "Wow, that's really fascinating," and it lights something up in me. So, yes, you were ready and your audience was ready.
Yes.
Absolutely, amazing.
And when I hit, save, to send to Tony, my podcast editor, I had a moment of like, that was I really went out there, and that
Yeah.
episode was really like I felt uncomfortable, but then this episode hasn't gone live yet as of us talking, and I feel totally at peace with it. I'm like, "I'm ready. If people like it, they're my people. If they don't like it, they're not my people yet. Maybe they'll come back." So, I'm totally at peace with it, which I think is also, like I think that feeling of like, should I be doing this or not?" I think ultimately you're gonna end on peace with it. If you have that sort of, feeling and then you publish it and you're still, you might have been sharing something before it was actually ready. So I do think there is kind of sometimes we do share before ideas are cooked. So that can be a little breadcrumb
What's the
as
difference in
well.
feeling for you?
Yeah.
What's the difference in yeah, because sometimes you have to talk me down from things.
I am a ready, fire, aim person. I actually think a good example of this that I shared too soon was actually the story of my near death experience, which you helped me to share first for the first time. And the reason why I feel like I shared it too soon was because I was pushing myself to share it. And I was really kind of beholden to the limiting belief that I should have told this story to my audience by now. I reference it. I should people have asked me, but I was really pushing myself and I feel like had I given it maybe even just like not even just like more 4 to 6 more months and just been like I don't feel 100% ready, but like so it was not bad. I ripped the Band-Aid off a little bit ahead of time. No big deal. I learned from it, but I do think it was just like I was coming from my head and not my heart. Like, you should if you're a spiritual teacher, you should be able to talk about this. And I
Mhm.
was pushing
Yeah.
myself, and it wasn't really from a heart space, that heart energy you're talking about ready.
Yes,
I
yes.
think that's a big distinction.
Yeah, yeah, people are just usually but see, the thing is, if you didn't do it, you wouldn't have learned that about yourself, right? And so I think the worst thing you can do is not do anything and not get that feedback of, like, how you really work, how you interact with the world. And I've made so many of those mistakes, and now I'm, like, a little bit smarter. But I think if we're talking purely about fire era, not talking about nervous system or anything like that, but if we're really talking about fire era, it is, like, if it feels like it's something that needs to be said or something that's coming up, you gotta just say it, right? You gotta just do it.
Love it. I would love to spend a moment talking more about horse. So I grew up
Oh,
on a
yeah.
yes, I grew up on a cattle ranch in South Dakota. I grew up on horses. I love horses. It's one of the things like I'm not a person who regrets a lot in life. I don't believe in regret. And I feel like if I ever regret anything, I need to take action immediately. So I fill the thing that I think I'm regretting. All that said, I do wish I'm a little regretty that I didn't have more horses in my life now, like physical horses, because I love them so much. And when I go home on the farm now, we have one horse. Her name is Blueberry. Nobody rides her. She's very sweet, and I can go visit Blueberry. So I do have one horse, one little sweet, lonely horse all by herself in a little lone pasture in South Dakota to go visit. But that's not the point of this. The point of this is I love horses so much. Um, so from
Why?
an
What's your experience with them?
astrological
Why? What's your experience with
oh,
horses?
man. So I grew up on a ranch, and the nearest kid my age was 2 miles away, and, it was like I I spent a lot of time alone, and my best friends became animals. And my first, like honestly, like, one of my first best friends was a horse named Tia. And I went out to her every day. I rode her every day. I was riding her when I fell off her. She was running through a field and tripped in a badger hole, and I went flying through the air and broke both my arms. And then the only way home, this was before cell phones, was back on the horse. So I had to ride the horse home with 2 broken arms. So, like, having these, like, amazing experiences with that horse in particular, but just I don't know, something about the smell of the horse. Some of my greatest childhood memories is riding horse with my sister. I remember this time we were chasing cattle and it had rained and there was like water everywhere. And we're running through the water. We're racing each other. We're trying to push each other off into the water. And we're just laughing and having so much fun. So I guess I just associate horses with this freedom and running and play and in sync with the animal and feeling that love energy that like with I had with Tia. I knew that Tia always had my back. Tia was never going to leave me. Even with two broken arms, she was going to make sure I got home. And so I guess these are the super, super happy memories I associate with horses.
Yeah, it's a really they're just such a presence, and you're right, they completely connect with your state of being. And I actually think this is a great exercise for people is to think about like when you think about a horse, firstly, what comes to mind? So it's interesting that you bring up this kind of like gentle and almost like protective, connected quality of a horse. Because absolutely, a horse is pure intuition, right? That's kind of what they symbolize. And that sense of freedom, like you said, like, yeah, like they are free and they roam and they roam and they roam and they roam. And then also like when you think of a horse, what is the first thing that comes up for you? For me, it's actually like for some reason it's the horse running. It's not necessarily like that they're grazing or anything. It's just like they're like, I'm free, I'm running. And so I guess freedom is something that's really calling to me, right? And so when your listener thinks of a horse, what kind of characteristics is their horse? Like what color is their horse? What is their horse doing? So your horse to me seems to be um uh it seems to be that you and Thea are kind of in sync, just kind of roaming and playing, right? It's a companion. She's a companion.
She was definitely a companion, a trusted, loyal friend.
Yeah. So then for you this year, it's that level of companionship with source. It's that source does have your back. It's that source is reflecting what you're feeling, what you're doing, and source is following you. Source is dancing with you. If you want to have more fun, source is there to enhance that experience, right? And I think really like for each of us, because we're all unique, the energies of this year will hit us uniquely. So why not have your personal horse with you here and just kind of like feel into your connection with this horse, and that's your connection with the year. And then you add in the heightened element of fire, right? Maybe for you, there's like a campfire, and maybe it gets like a little bigger and a little bigger, right? Like, what's the horse's interaction with that? So it's just like kind of interesting way to think about it because, yeah, there's kind of like this general understanding of what this horse energy is. It's intuition, it's freedom, it's speed, it's a lot of brilliance, right? It's a lot of kind of more westernized, it's more individuality, but in Eastern traditions, it's more about like kind of like what is for the collective good, kind of more Age of Aquarius type thing. Um, like the pack. Um, so it's really good to see, I think, for everyone, like their own in their subconscious, what their relationship with horse energy is. Because I bet there's like an interesting spiritual correlation with the horse too.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful way to explore it for yourself to consider like what does horse energy mean, to you? How do you experience it? I love that. I would also love your perspective on daily practices. As we harness this fire energy, this horse energy, and it's fast, but it also requires grounding and alignment. And we are this year tapping into our personal sovereignty. So we're relying on our own intuition more so than we ever have over things we might be hearing on the news or in social media. And we're discerning at higher and higher levels what is true for us. So to really hmm, stay in an energetic flow with all this without totally burning out or totally what was the word you were using at the beginning when you're going too fast with the fire, when you haven't grounded and you haven't, aligned
It'll
and you're just
consume you.
yeah, you're consumed,
It'll
you're burnt
consume your life
out.
force. Yeah, it'll
Yeah,
consume your reserves.
correct. So how can we are there some daily practices that can kinda help us stay in all those energies we actually want to be in so we can really ride these waves?
Yes. Okay, that's a really great tangible question. And I'm going to answer your question by first giving the your listeners kind of like the zeitgeist, like the environment, the ecosystem that they're going to find themselves in. Minneapolis is a very good example because we're here, we're like talking, we're doing our work, I'm making coffee, but then in the background, there's a lot of um, fighting, rebellion, activism, horror, change. And so imagine that. And human design, we're moving from institutions to sovereignty. Imagine institutions collapsing and changing in a way that I ultimately think is for the better, but they're going to collapse and change, right? So, financial institutions, a big one. And I think next year is going to be a huge financial institution shift. Okay. So, just imagine all around you, there is uh, more instability than stability. And I don't even want to talk about the job market because that is very, 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 very quickly changing and people are noticing it. And I went to a birthday party for my kid's friend, 3-year-old birthday party, and like half the moms there got fired. It's kind of like, okay. And they're all in different, one was a scientist, one was a teacher, one was a daycare. It's just like, oh, okay. So what are you doing now? Well, I'm going to study the thing that I always wanted to do. I'm just going to try my kind of like hobby that I'm going to try and monetize or whatever it is, right? So just instead of trying to push the reality away, allow reality to sit and be honest with yourself how that affects you. Be honest with, am I scared? Am I reactive? Am I planning to escape? Am I wanting to run away? Am I wanting to drink more? Am I wanting to be less present? And be so honest with yourself. There's no shame, there's no judgment. This is what's your daily practice is going to be, is to sit with yourself because your soul knows, your body knows, it feels the intrinsic fear of the collective. Okay. So we can't deny it anymore. This is the era of like not being able to deny and not being able to hide. That's fire. Fire, the gift of fire is transparency. And the horror of fire is transparency. And so being able to sit with yourself, be very honest. And I think the most important thing is, and this is what I've been actively trying to do, is for me to be honest about, okay, I really have this amount of time in the day, and I really only have this amount of energy and like this amount of productive time and all of the things that I need to do. How can I make my day and night geared towards my energy so that I'm not overworking because, like we have a tendency as entrepreneurs to overwork. And if you're a mom, like, come on now, right? So, how can I really be honest with myself given these conditions that are only going to be exacerbated? They're only going to get louder. They're only going to get more crazy, the good and the bad. So we're going to have huge like innovation wins this year. And I think a lot of people are going to have huge personal business gains, but there's going to be huge social unrest and lots of stuff that doesn't feel great, right? So look at yourself, be honest. How can you feel safety in yourself? And also, how can you optimize your life for chaos? Like, that's really it. And I already scheduled my massages. I already scheduled, with a new herbalist because I kind of knew like, okay, well, fire's going to burn wood and my eyes are getting dry. Like, I can just feel my body just responding in a way that it didn't before. So I'm going to need to supplement. I'm going to need more exercise. Boo. I'm going to need probably less caffeine. So it's just being honest, right? How can we really set ourselves up for this to be our strongest year? Because that's the gift on the other end. If you do this work, you're not going to do it all at once. You're going to do it like, whenever you can throughout the year. The gift is fire will enhance all of the good things that you're doing. It's going to reward you because it is in alignment with your truth and your highest good, and you will be rewarded. You will see more rewards from you doing self care this year than I think ever before.
Brilliant. Brilliant. So when I was chit-chatting with Source at the start of the year, I always do this soul guided planning process. And you know me, I'm very left arrowed. So I love to plan. I love to have systems. I love to have routines. I love to have no, I like to think in numbers. And so I was doing that whole thing that I do. And I always start with my 10-year vision and my 1-year vision. So I was on the 1-year vision. And Source said to me, "What if you only had one goal this year?" I was like, oh, there's a lot of things I want to do this year. And I like to map them out and have a plan and put them in my little 10-page template and track." And Source was like, "But what if you only had one goal?" And that one goal sort of encapsulated everything, but you just had one goal. And I said, "All right, let's give it a go." So this is my year where I'm sort of embodying what you're talking about, or trying to anyway. Or I have one goal. And my one goal is, I'm calling it, I am soul aligned at 6 to 700. It's still got numbers in it. So what that means is, my first goal, before money, before followers, before program, before podcast, is how I feel. It's really my only goal this year. So 6 to 700 on the map of consciousness is basically love. Well, it's higher than love. It's peace, harmony, joy, enlightenment, right? And
Wow.
I'm vibrating at 600, moving into 700, which is enlightenment. My vibrations now are right around, my bandwidth is right around now in the 500s. So my one goal for 2026, above all other goals, is that my bandwidth is vibrating at 600 and going into 700.
What's 500?
500 is like love. Love.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
So
more
you're like,
love and peace. And
okay.
then you're getting into joy, enlightenment. And then you can feel, you can really feel the difference. And so in order to do that, I can't prioritize my business. I gotta prioritize myself. I gotta prioritize what I eat. I gotta prioritize my movement. I gotta prioritize my meditation. All things I normally don't prioritize, Anna.
I agree.
I'm prioritizing the other things first.
I know how you feel.
So yeah, this is my experiment. I've got one goal. I call it, I am soul alive. And soul alive is just what I call when I'm feeling in alignment. I'm in a high vibrational aligned place. I am soul alive at 6 to 700. And it's funny because, the whole, YouTube 6, 7. I've got a 9-year-old. So she's all about the 6, 7. So I even sometimes say it that way. I am soul aligned to 6, 700.
Oh my gosh. And every time a kid says that, it's like totally reinforcing your goal.
Exactly. So I got my 6, 7 little trigger. And I think that Source is guiding me to what you're saying. We got to have these daily practices that force us to look at shadow, to force us to nourish ourselves, and to make sure that our house is in order first.
Yeah.
And then that's really going to help, I think, facilitate this fire horse energy.
Yeah. So like maybe like in a few months we'll come back and be like, this is how it's happening. Like this is like the update. Because as you're saying that, like 6, 7, it's so brilliant because it really is coming back to the individual is source, And it's like I think we'll see, we've been seeing kind of like the illusion of the churches, like religion as like a controlling force in people. Like we've been seeing that dissolve. Like, no, we haven't. Like, just wait, right? Human design, like, just wait. It's moving away from these institutions and into yourself. And if I really treated myself as this, if I really respected my body and respected myself as a creator, like, would I be treating myself the way that I do? Probably not. Probably not. And this is also a time of women, especially older women, like the crone energy coming into power. And so for crone energy, it's just pure life experience, wisdom, and truth, right? It's like zero people pleasing. And it's just pure truth, pure being in the world, like pure, bringing everyone up. Like it's just, there's so many energetic bounties and blessings that we can receive by just treating ourselves better, taking care of ourselves, and doing things that are good for us. You're so right.
100%. And I love that you talked about a part 2. So Anna and I have been talking, and we are going to do a part 2, but I really, really wanted to do this episode, and I really wanted to release it on February 17th. So whenever you hit play on this episode, it's for you. and may you receive all the beautiful gems of wisdom coming through. But we are going to do a part two, and we're going to talk about the goddess Tara, and she is fierce. And we're going to talk about all sort of leading edge things. Both Anne and I are going to get edgy and bold and talk about the things that we have been working on behind the scenes that we don't always talk about and share publicly. So stay tuned for our part two episode because it's going to be very fierce. To be continued there. All right, Anna, please tell our listeners what invitation you have for them this week.
Um, so as I'm tuning into the fire energy, and thank you, Allison, for inviting me and um, just sharing this time. It's always so energizing for me. And I always learn so much when I talk to you. And, when you're talking, I just feel like I can feel our place in the procession of time and in the time that is now and the people who need us and all of your people. Like, I always feel that, like, there's so many people connected to exactly the thing that you do on a daily basis that you don't even think about, but that is your genius, right? And so, as you asked me that question, I'm just thinking about, like, all of the people who are going to be unlocked by this work, right? And so, something that I want to offer for your folks is my class on the fire era, which is the next 20 years until 2043, so 20-ish years. And it started last year. And your people can buy it for a huge discount for $22, and also gives them access to the business clinics that I've been doing with people and how to shape your business for the fire era for free. So if y'all interested, tune in. There's a link there, and join the discussion.
That is so generous and so brilliant. And I really encourage listeners to take advantage of that. We're going to leave all these links in the show notes. Follow Anna on Instagram and TikTok. Does these amazing reels. I'm a super fan myself. She's a brilliant writer too. So get on her Substack, get on her mailing list, and get into Anna's world. You will not regret it. Anna has been a part of my life for 7 years now.
No, that's
She
not.
started out as my coach, and then we just became peers, and then we became friends. And I just want to take a second to say that I'm so grateful each and every day that you're in my life. I consider you one of my best friends on the planet, and I gain inspiration from you each and every day. And I'm just really, really so grateful for you. So thank you for being in my life, and thank you for the wisdom you share in the world.
Thank you, and thank you for changing the world and healing the world and moving consciousness. I mean, you guys, you got to do part two because, like, the stuff that Allison shifts is literally like seismic. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. Okay, I want to talk about that.
Yeah, well, thank you. Back at you. And there's going to be a part two. So stay tuned. And it will be in the near future. And it's going to be epic. And we are going to model fire energy. And I'm really excited to do that.
Hooray! Thanks for having me.
And that's a wrap for this week. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. My invitation for you this week is to take some deep breaths, pivot your awareness down, and connect to the fire in your heart. Connect to that burning passion, that desire to be bold this year, to step out of your comfort zone, to do something edgy and raw, and ask the fire in your heart, what bold action are you calling me to take? What bold being are you calling me to be? Perceive what you receive coming back in response, and see if you can be bold this year in alignment to the fire horse. And until next time, may your soul guide the way.